Well, lucky old you, managing to find this live stream here from the commentary box at the restaurant at the end of the universe for tonight's feature performance, The Fall of the Usuk Empire. Usuk, for those of you who do not know the beast, it is a beast with 5 eyes. It is a beast with 1 foot in England and the other foot in New England. It loves bushes. I'm giving you a clue about Usuk. Usuk is falling. Usuk is dead. The dagger is in. And we're going to discuss also the astonishing, amazing, historical arrival of a major figure from history now on the scene. For this, the epic fall of the Usuk Empire. It's been threatening for some time. And so this is not about Ukraine. As you probably figured, it's about more than Ukraine. Because all this Great Reset stuff, all this COVID stuff, all this conflict in Ukraine stuff, it's all been coming to a head for some time, and those who should know have known. And that's why they've been bleating away at trying to control the narrative and control the destiny of humanity as we move towards a huge change. And that change is deeply embedded now. Because the reason this is connected with COVID is you, the people who tune into me, and people like you all over the planet have resisted successfully the totalitarian regime internally. They were cracking down internally against you just as much as they were expanding in a totalitarian fashion externally. And so you have defeated them. I did a video 7th of January where I announced victory for the people against the totalitarians on the 7th of January. In the weeks that followed, Boris Johnson withdrew all mandates in the United Kingdom, and a sequence of events ended the mandates when the truckers triumphed in seeming defeat, because the establishment globally, looking down the barrel of popular working class resistance, blinked. A phenomenal victory. Why were they doing that? Well, you found out within weeks why they were doing that, didn't you? Because Vladimir Putin, who's also studying these events, also aware of our victory, was moving preemptively against them, because they were going to move against him. Because it's all coming to a head. So it's not about Ukraine. It's fundamentally about, well, you've heard some of it. It's about oil and dollars. Oil, for example, is priced in dollars, and that price has gone up. But you see, the converse of that is that dollars are priced in oil. Who knew? Who knows now when you go down to fill up at the gas station? See? So these are new realities, because Saudi Arabia has indicated that it's ready to sell oil in won, not dollars. And it's ready to sell oil in won and then buy gold with that won. I didn't hear the word dollar in any of that. Exactly. And so this geopolitical moment has been long arriving, but predictable. Predictable based on the sheer trading volume of the rest of the world versus the Usuk Empire. The rest of the world is now the majority of global trade by a large margin. And the attempt by the Usuk Empire to hold on to power has now been called by Vladimir Putin. And so the situation in Ukraine, as of the 19th of March, victory. Vladimir Putin's already held his victory speech, for crying out loud. Meanwhile, the Western mainstream media, and indeed a whole host of breathless bloggers, are behaving as if they're still some kind of a conflict going on in Ukraine. There isn't. There's a game of chess going on, which is designed to produce the minimum amount of damage to Ukraine and the maximum amount of peace and tranquility. That's the aim here. And that's why the Usuk Empire is in such despair, because the Usuk Empire, as we know, from Afghanistan to Libya to Iraq to Syria, thrives on disaster, creates disaster, fosters disaster. They are the antithesis of peace. And now someone's taken them on. So as of the 19th of March, victory. Putin's moving slow because there's no need to move fast. There were two aspects to this war, the short war and the long war. The short war is, as I say, over. 19th of March, military objectives secured, said Putin, and he wasn't lying. The denazification being the prime objective down in the southeast of Ukraine. Denazification because this is not World War III. This is really the end of World War II. Because the Nazis went underground at the end of World War II, and the Germans weren't the only Nazis. The ideology was shared by the elites across Usuk and across Europe. It just went underground. 25 Russians died for every one Allied forces member who died defeating the Nazis. But it wasn't a defeat. One bunch of Nazis had been defeated. All their top scientists, indeed most of their ideology, covertly departed for foreign shores. So that's what's happening. There's a long arc of history which is coming to an end here. And that arc of history goes back into World War II. It goes back before that, because these people who seeded the Nazis in the first place, well, their recapture of the United States took place when the Federal Reserve was created. So this is a bankster alliance, which has been taken on by Vladimir Putin. And he has succeeded. There was a demonstration of his ability to deal with the long war in recent days, with the unleashing of the Kinzhal missile and also with the bombing by cruise missile of 2 mercenary centers in Ukraine. One of those was a mercenary center with a 140 square mile area, hit by 30 cruise missiles, containing thousands of individuals, NATO, mercenary, irregular, regular, Uncle Tom Cobley and all. Busy beavering away, shipping in the old weapons, getting on with the old game, which Usuk has played so many times before. Bring in some useful idiots. Nazis today, Al-Qaeda tomorrow. Absolutely interchangeable, no compunction about using anybody for their own ends. And they were busy setting up for a nice bleed Russia dry 10-year-long war. And their major operational center for deployment for all that was just wiped out. And following the wiping out of the second mercenary center, the Russian ministry notified the enemy that we know all of your mercenary bases, rat lines, networks, all of it. We're just letting you know that in advance. Obviously, they could have hidden that from the enemy, but they'd work it out anyway. But no, they're making it overt because they want to send a message. And the message is going to be no long war. We've known this was coming, and we have penetrated all of your apparatus. All your base are belong to us. That was Putin's message in those two strikes. There will be no long war. Every attempt you make at long war is just going to end in more disaster like the disasters we just visited upon you. And unless you cease and desist immediately, we will simply wipe out every single one of these places which you are using to conduct your long war. There won't be a long war. Anyway, there can't be a long war because this isn't Afghanistan. This is in the heart of Europe. And Europe does not need half the entire Ukrainian population departing as refugees. No, Europe needs a resolution of these issues. What Putin is doing is making sure that Europe gets a solution and that the USSR Anglo-American Empire doesn't interfere and butts out and is tossed out by a Europe awakened to its desire not to become a battleground for the USSR Empire. It's deliberate intimidation, psychological warfare, which Putin is conducting against them. And then the Kinzhal missile. Let's take a look at it. You've probably heard of the supersonic missile. And this is it in action. You may have missed that. It's quite quick. There's a brief flicker just above that center, the incoming missile. Here we go. To watch very carefully. A brief flicker, and in it comes supersonically, and it goes underground. It was being used as a bunker buster there. And there is the missile, just as it comes in. The Kinzhal missile. Let's hear a little bit about this thing.
Missile can fly at about 4,900 kilometers per hour, roughly 5,000 kilometers per hour, can reach speeds of up to 12,350 kilometers per hour.
No need to labor the point any further, eh? This is some missile. In fact, you simply cannot stop this thing. That's what it amounts to. And its real purpose is not a bunker buster. It was just being used there because it's so versatile. It can penetrate by the sheer power of impact. You don't even have to have an explosive inside it. Not to take out an aircraft carrier, you don't. And so that was another demonstration that to USSR by Putin, saying to them, look, you cannot escalate this thing. At the end of the day, you can't escalate this thing because the missiles we have, well, that can take out your aircraft carriers. So don't escalate. And don't escalate anyway because we're on nuclear alert from the beginning. This is an existential battle as far as we're concerned. So escalation has great potential dangers for you, even in the short term non-nuclear, because we've got the Dagger. How do you stop the unstoppable missile? You don't. You can't. Game changer. 2018, unveiled by Vladimir Putin. How many Kinzhals has he got? Well, I'll make an inside joke here. He's got at least 23. I bet you he's got at least 23. Let's find out why he's got at least 23. We're getting close to that historical figure now. From the play, we'll turn to Shakespeare as Cassius, or is it? Yeah, Cassius offers his dagger to Brutus, saying, there is my dagger, and here my naked breast within a heart. Strike as thou didst at Caesar. Strike as thou didst at Caesar. The dagger went in. 23 daggers went in. to Caesar, slaying him. Interesting, isn't it? That a global leader comes at the end of Pisces, at the dawn of Aquarius, from 2,000 years ago, with this time a dagger to fight back at the oligarchs. It was the oligarchs who killed him, Caesar. The oligarchs who stabbed him with daggers, 23 of them, outraged by his relentless populism, outraged by his granting of rights to the ordinary people, outraged by his restraining of the oligarchs. And so they conspired, up to 60 of them, against him, and 23 of them were deployed, it is said, to take him out. Julius Caesar, in many ways, he was doing for Rome and the empire what Putin has done over the last 15 years or more in Russia. And Putin has, this time, won the battle against the oligarchs in Russia, doing a deal with them. And he is now standing up against our oligarchs. Just as you have resisted their attempt to control the population internally in advance, in order to give them the control they might require for whatever economic woes might befall us all as a result of their determination to succeed, to win, to overthrow him, the one who spurned them, the one who played chess against them and won, securing the independence of Russia again from their grasp, but also now playing a mythic role. I think this one here displays more of the malice which was inherent in the murder than the other image. But he's back. You see, history is an interesting thing. It has cycles. As Shakespeare said, one man in his time plays many parts, but what if one man over time plays many parts also? I don't mind whether you or I believe in multiple incarnations. It doesn't matter whether we do. Because the thing is, he does. He does. It's not the first time that Vladimir Putin and Caesar have been compared. Up till now, it's been interesting, you might say. But the dagger changes it all. The dagger makes it mythic. The dagger makes it real. The dagger is the symbol of the epic nature of what's playing out right now. Truly epic nature. We are indeed living in very, very, very interesting times. And you'd think with all of their Masonic lore, etc., and all of their esoteric knowledge, they might have divined who they were up against. Unfortunately, no. Too late now. It's fitting, maybe, because the arc of Christendom has always run from Rome to Kiev to Moscow. And it seems as if the seat of that tradition has moved now from Rome to Moscow. And perhaps in due course, Kiev will again play a role. But these epic times mean that for you, having successfully resisted Usuk and its empire, that with this external defeat, they have nowhere left to turn. The economic system is fundamentally so broken, but that's not because there's anything wrong with our fundamental ability to produce wealth. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all structural. It's all their control. There comes a point with every economy where you have to let go of that control. It's called debt jubilee, whatever you want to call it. And there are two forces battling at the moment in the United States and in the financial system. One which wishes to evade and escape the implications of the debt load by inflation, and the other which wishes to merely hold fast. Damn the peasants, let them pay full cost of their debt. Neither are the appropriate route. We must chart new routes. We are in new times. But it's good. In the end, we managed to have a peaceful resistance against these people, domestically, in our countries, with the resistance to all of the control structure. And at the same time, we haven't actually had to fight a war, unfortunately, Ukraine. And I hope in due course they will achieve the independence they seek, but it's being used as a pawn in a battle which is not actually about that country. It's about finally justice. Finally. Because there are no easy pickings left, including you or I, for the New World Order. Externally and internally, the game's up. I'll be back with more on the implications of all that as we go, as we deal with the reality that, fittingly, as the Piscean era draws to a close and Aquarius dawns, we have a central figure who has triumphed in the past and who took on the oligarchs before and was destroyed by them. May you live in interesting times, because we need a change. You've lived most of your life in the shadow of these people, and now it's coming to an end. All right, we'll go out with Remember Man, which is probably appropriate. New World Order should listen to that and become aware of the eternal aspects of all this. That's a song by Joe Dunn, my brother, and you'll find more of that on josephdunn.com. Remember Man. Indeed, we'll go out with that. I'll be back with more soon. I hope you can join me for that. But in the meantime, for breakfornews.com, this has been Fintan Dunn reporting. See you soon.
Remember, man, as you pass by, as you are now, so once was I. As I am now, so you shall be. Remember, man, eternity. Light up the night, the starship is coming. Light up that night. Light up the night, the starship is coming, baby. Light up that night, that night. Remember, man, as you pass by, as you are now, so once was I. As I am now, so you shall be. Remember, man, eternity. Light up the night, the starship is coming, baby. Light up that night. Light up the night, the starship is coming now. Light up that night, that night.